All right, so this is going to be a review of The Marvels, directed by Nia DaCosta. She did the remake for Candyman, which I didn't like. It's the sequel to Captain Marvel, the first Captain Marvel movie, which I didn't like. But it's also a follow up to Ms. Marvel, the Disney Plus show, which I just had to binge the other day for this, which I actually like that show, even though the villains are terrible. But it's also a follow up to WandaVision because we have Monica Rambeau in this. We have homework for the MCU now. This movie, people have been talking about it. People are kind of bashing it. Been bashing it since before it even came out. The trailers weren't great. And I believe box office wise, it's not doing too well, but whatever. So in this, we have Darben, played by Zawe Ashton. I guess that's how you say it. And she's Kree, and she's kind of leading the Kree now. Basically, Hala, that planet from Captain Marvel, it's devastated now because of something that Captain Marvel did, following up the way the first movie ends, when she's like, I'm going to come see you and end this war and all that. Devastated the planet. So that character, Darben, is now going around trying to restore Hala by taking resources and things from other planets. And she's doing that with the second bangle, the one that goes along with the one that Ms. Marvel has. She puts it on, and she's able to use it with her hammer and things like that to do certain things to potentially restore a planet. And Captain Marvel, once again played by Brie Larson, and Monica Rambeau, once again played by Tiana Paris. Because they were touching a certain thing at that time, their light powers got entangled, but also with Ms. Marvel's Kamala Khan, played by Aman Vellani. Also with her, and I think it's mainly because she has the bangle on, so it's kind of like the bangle with her, but with the other ones, it was, they were touching a certain thing at that time, and the switching of the powers, let's call it what it is right now, is a gimmick. It's a gimmick. It's fun at times, but it is mainly a gimmick here. But because their powers are, kind of intertwined now, and they keep switching, and there's an action scene that goes on for way too long with them realizing that, they decide to work together to defeat Darben, to stop her from devastating these other planets. The main positive here that elevates the entire movie, let's be honest about it, is Ms. Marvel. His Kamala Khan is Aman Vellani. She is fantastic in this role. She was the main thing that made me really like that show. She's a little bit too quirky at times. They try to be a little bit too fun with her, with like drawings around her and things like that. And her fangirlism can be a little much at times, but she is so charming, right? They really need to lean on this character going forward. And it seemed like they are with Young Avengers. She is so good. She is carrying this movie. I'm not I'm not kidding you at all. Even Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, who I still think has some issues, mainly with whenever she really has to emote, whenever there's emotional moments and things like that between her and Monica Rambeau. Obviously, there's history there, and even some things with her and Ms. Marvel later on in the movie. I think she's unnatural. I think she's a little wooden. I think she needs to like kind of come out of her shell a little bit more and be a little bit more natural in her performance. So she's still got a ways to go. But even with Captain Marvel, like whenever Ms. Marvel and her are interacting, I feel it. There's chemistry there, right? There's chemistry between these three. There's chemistry between Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel, with her geeking out over her. It's the thing where it's like you're meeting your hero for the first time, so you're anxious, but you're excited. There's a montage of them learning to work together with their powers, because the way their powers work, which was kind of confusing for me in the trailer, is they have to use their powers at the same time. So there's times where they'll use their powers and then they'll switch, and I'll be like, wait, what's going on? And it's because they have to specifically use their powers at the same time to switch. So they have to kind of get used to that, and they're going to be in action scenes and things like that. And obviously that's going to be a problem if they're switching in the middle of fighting. So there's a montage of them jumping rope and things like that. It's just it's fun. You get a little bit of development amongst these three. I actually do think they do mostly right by by the three leads in here. And I did like they go to this planet where everybody's constantly singing. That's the language of the planet. That was kind of fun. And then I think the main highlight, I think, at least for me, some people might disagree, but there's something that happens with the kittens, or I guess the baby flurkins in this. It's in the trailer, so I'm not going to fully spoil it, but you kind of know about it already. I thought that was the best scene in the movie, right? I thought it was funny. I thought it of all the rest of the movie, it felt inspired. It felt like there was, somebody had an idea to do this, and I think they executed it really well. And it's got memory from cats playing in the playing in the background and things like that. It feels like something that would be in maybe a Guardians of the Galaxy, something weird and kind of crazy, but fun that would be in one of the Guardians movies. That being said, though, this is still not a good movie. I was waiting, I was holding it. I was like, let me praise it a little bit before I get into it. So this movie it's unnecessary. It's mostly uninspired. It's generic. It has terrible pacing. I mean, the beginning action scene with them switching takes so long. I was like, man, at this point, it's just you guys punching random goons, like, and switching while it's happening. At this point, it's not even really all that fun anymore. You got to move on to something else. We got to get to the plot at some point. It feels like you're very obviously padding the movie because you don't really have much on the page, right? It feels like Thor: Love and Thunder, where they're just kind of throwing something out there, and parts of it feel underdeveloped. The villain is most definitely underdeveloped. We'll talk about that. Um, Parts of it just don't work. Like you'll have emotional moments, or you'll have conflict with these three leads, and they'll kind of have like a moment with each other that'll last like a couple minutes, and then we'll just move right on. Or you'll have like a big emotional moment, right, where like it's right after they leave that singing planet. There's a moment where they they have a moment with each other, and they're kind of Captain Marvel's Brie Larson's doing her best to try to tear up and make this moment work. She's not doing very well. I don't feel like there was enough to develop it to make this moment feel earned for it to have any weight, right? And the movie is so weightless outside of it. It's just like, all right, let's just get this over with and move on. Um, I just it feels like it would work better as like a Disney Plus show or something, or just not even make it at all. Because when it comes down to it, just kind of feels unnecessary. Continuity wise, I was having issues too because I was like, wait, I just watched Secret Invasion earlier this year. You would think Secret Invasion didn't even happen because Nick Fury doesn't mention or anything like that. He's on Saber. There's no scrolls there. There was scrolls there before. It's like uh, uh, there's a whole planet apparently of scrolls that were working on like a peace treaty with the Kree? Really? Did the scrolls that were on Earth trying to start World War III and cause nuclear fallout to take over our planet because they weren't given a habitable planet by Nick Fury and Captain Marvel? Did they know about those Kree? Do they know about that treaty that they could just go live on that planet with them? Like I just, it's nonsense. It's like I guess nobody's talking to each other. The effects are bad. Like I thought the effects were bad in the trailer. They're very bad here. I think these are probably the worst effects I've seen in an MCU movie because particularly with Captain Marvel, I've never liked that effect for Ms. Marvel's powers. I've never liked the way that they do Ms. Marvel's powers in this version. But yeah, that looks okay. I guess I've gotten used to it by now with Ms. Marvel. It's primarily with Captain Marvel. I think it looks worse than in that first movie, probably because she had that inhibitor for so much of it. But her flying around, like if you look in the trailer and you think that does not look like a real woman, like at all. It's completely unbelievable, right? It's not convincing at all. Um, it's exactly the same way in the movie every single time this woman flies. If I could compare it to something, in the Ms. Marvel show, there was parts where Ms. Marvel was doing a certain thing, and it was very obvious that she was just like a CGI creation because she's not moving naturally like a human being. That's what it feels like when Captain Marvel flies. It is absolutely terrible. The villain, she doesn't leave much of an impression, like at all. All right. You don't really get into her mindset all that much, or really give her all that much to do. That's what I'm saying. It's Thor: Love and Thunder. It's like Gore the God Butcher, where like you have a God Butcher here, a guy going around killing gods. They don't even show it, right? Like this character feels underdeveloped, right? This needs to be an actual character, and she isn't. She's just like a foil. Like she's just somebody for them to fight. And that's it. And then, even though she's getting some hits in on Captain Marvel, which is cool, right? Like that was one of my criticisms of the first movie was Captain Marvel was just like overpowered, and like there was never a point where there were any stakes because of it or tension. Here there is, like, she is taking them on, but there was never a point where I fully felt like she was gonna defeat them, really, especially by the end. Like by the end they're just wailing on her. Like it's 3-on-1. Captain Marvel's there. It's like there's never a point where I was like, okay, yeah, she's gonna win. even though she is getting some hits in. So she can fight them, but she's it never really feels like she's going to actually physically defeat them. And then by the end, the thing that she does at the very end makes absolutely no sense, right? Especially with the revelation of Captain Marvel, and what she says that she'll try to do. It seemed like she would be on board, right? But no, she does this other thing, which completely messes things up, which is just so that they can set up this particular thing in the end credit scene. I only watched the first one. I assume there's two. I'm just gonna say it has to do with the X-Men, and I saw somebody say, another reviewer, that why is nobody talking about this end credit scene? I didn't even know what it was at the time. The whole multiverse thing is like kind of played out, and people aren't really all that excited for it anymore. So that's the reason why nobody's talking about it, right? I'm not even gonna spoil it here because I just don't care. It doesn't come together. It doesn't feel like a complete movie by the end of it. It just doesn't. And yeah, because of that, it just it's watchable and there's fun to be had. But what do you really get out of it? Nothing. The main question I had afterward was why, as in why was this made? Why did I have to sit through this? And why did I have to do homework, watch other things to watch it when it has very little substance to it? But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna give it a rental. So I definitely think this is better than the first Captain Marvel movie, and I liked it better, and I did like moments, but like I said, it feels unnecessary. But anyway, that's the Marvels, and yeah, we're done.